Audio Adventures of Cthulhu of the Deep.
Sit down, my boy. Come closer to the fire. The night has teeth in it, and there are truths best told where the flames can look you in the eye. You have asked me more than once why I never sail beyond the harbour wall, why I turn pale when a ship's bell sounds after midnight, why, when the tide draws back from Luna port, I stand at the window and count the breaths between the weaves. Tonight, Luna, you are old enough to know the truth of your name. You are old enough to know about your father, Conrad Stilton, and the darkness that nearly swallowed this town.
Father, you always spoke of Luna port as a place of wonder. A hard place, perhaps, but a good one. Why do you look so grim now?
Because wonder is often only a thin veil. Beneath it, my boy, there may be hunger. Luna port was founded in the year 1516 by sailors searching the South Pacific for paradise. They found warm water, black reefs, and a harbour bright beneath the sun. But they also found something waiting below. A secret cult slipped into those first settlements. Followers of the Great Dreamer. Followers of Cthulhu. They hid in cellars, in fishing sheds, in the shadowed spaces beneath the docks. For centuries they whispered to the deep and carved their symbols into the stones. By 1910, the rot had reached the surface.
Was that when Father left?
It was. Your father was a medical doctor, and a better man than the world deserved. Your mother, Brittany, worked 3 jobs to keep a roof over our heads. You were growing fast. School fees mounted. The ceiling leaked. The pantry echoed. Conrad wanted one voyage, just one, to buy his family a safer life.
I remember him hugging me before he left. He smelled of peppermint and old books.
Aye, he did. And then Captain Andrew Holson came into port. Holson claimed he needed a physician for a long-range expedition to an island called Cthulhu. The sum he offered sounded like a king's ransom. Mother must have been terrified. She was. I remember the argument in the kitchen as clearly as I remember your face.
Conrad, please, do not go. There is something wrong with that captain. His eyes, God help me, they do not blink. They look like glass beads.
Brittany, love, look at the cupboards. Look at the empty flour tin. Look at Cam Salavan. He is growing, and he needs schooling. One voyage will secure everything. I will be back before the winter frost reaches the coast.
But the island! The sailors in the tavern speak of the Isle of Tolha. They say the maps are wrong. They say the water turns black and the birds stop singing.
I am a doctor. I deal in facts, not tavern tales.
Facts? Here is a fact. A man who never blinks is not a man I would trust with your life.
And here is another. If I refuse, the leak remains, the bills remain, and our boy's future shrinks to the size of this kitchen. I have to try.
Then swear you will return.
I swear it.
Swear it to me, Conrad. Not to your pride, not to your science.
I swear it to you. I will come home.
The vessel was called the SS Thulha, a grand ship, broad in the beam and dark beneath the waterline. Yet from the moment Conrad stepped aboard, it felt heavy, as though it carried more than cargo. The second mate showed him to his quarters.
Morning, Dr. Stilton. Silas McCrae, second mate. I'll show you below.
Conrad thanked him and asked whether the captain always kept so silent.
Do not mention the steering, sir. Captain Halson hears things that are not spoken.
Conrad asked whether that was a remarkable talent for a captain.
It is not a talent. He has been obsessed with Thulha for 10 years. Says the island called him in a dream.
Conrad replied that a captain who navigated by dreams was a danger to his crew.
He is not just a captain anymore, Doctor. He is a servant.
Conrad asked, a servant to whom?
Keep your head down. Keep your medicines ready. You will find the crew are not as healthy as they look.
The voyage became a slow descent into madness. The weather changed without warning. 1 hour, sunlight flashed on a calm sea. The next, a wall of rain struck the deck from a cloudless sky. The ocean grew thick and oily, dragging at the ship as if unseen hands reached up from below. Men disappeared for hours. They returned with salt crusted into their hair and a fishy odour that no soap could remove. The cook developed translucent skin along his neck. A deckhand began sleeping upright, eyes open, whispering to the bilge water. At last, the Isle of Thulha rose from a violet sea. It was a jagged tooth of black basalt. Its towers leaned at angles that made the mind recoil. Stairways seemed to descend into the air. Doorways opened onto walls. The island did not merely stand in the water. It seemed to bend the water around itself. As the SS Thulha came alongside the pier, 2 figures waited.
Captain Halson, we have a serious problem. 3 sailors are in respiratory distress. Their skin is becoming translucent, and I found scales along the cook's neck. I need authority to isolate the affected men.
The evolution is beginning, Doctor.
Evolution? This is a pathology, a disease. I need clean water, quarantine, and proper light.
Can you not feel it? Pressure in the air, the calling of the deep.
I feel a crew being poisoned by something aboard this ship.
Disease? You call the gift of the Great One a disease?
I call a fever, and a scale. I do not call either a miracle.
We are not sailing to an island, Stilton. We are sailing to a temple. We are returning home.
You are endangering every man aboard.
No, I am delivering them. Do you see now, Stilton? The transition is painful, but the reward is eternity.
You look ill.
I am becoming more than human. I can hear him beneath the sea. Cthulhu dreams of Luna Port.
You are destroying your soul for a monster that does not know your name.
He knows me. He knows all of us. You are coughing blood. Soon your wife and son will join us. Imagine it, Doctor. A family reunited in the depths, breathing cold water, free forever from the burdens of the sun.
Say their names again, and I will find a way to make you regret having a mouth.
There is the courage I was promised.
Stop this madness, Halson.
You're too late, Stilton. The tide is rising. The Great One stirs.
You will not bring those creatures to my home.
Your home. Every harbour is his home. Every cellar, every well, every sleeping child who dreams of water.
You will not touch my family.
Then watch them drown.
Not while I can stand.
The deep is calling.
Then answer it yourself.
At last, the Isle of Thulha rose from a violet sea. It was a jagged tooth of black basalt. Its towers leaned at angles that made the mind recoil. Stairways seemed to descend into the air. Doorways opened onto walls. The island did not merely stand in the water. It seemed to bend the water around itself.
As the SS Thula came alongside the pier, two figures waited. They had once been human, but the blood of the Deep Ones had rewritten their forms. Their skin was pale and rubbery green. Their eyes were huge, bulbous, and cold.
Welcome, servant of the surface. We have waited for the physician.
Conrad demanded to know what the place was and what they had done to themselves.
We have been perfected, little doctor. We shed the weakness of the land. The great sleeper requires a mind of science to witness the awakening.
Conrad stepped back, his hand reaching for his medical bag.
You should be honored. Your mind will give meaning to what lesser men only worship.
Conrad answered that if this was their idea of meaning, they had mistaken horror for revelation.
Not yet. The captain promised us a sacrifice of loyalty. The doctor will be our guest until the moon reaches its highest point.
They put Conrad in a cell carved from living rock. For days he listened to chanting, low rhythmic voices vibrating through the walls and into his bones. He understood the truth. Halsin had not discovered Thula. He had been used by it. The cult needed an intelligent witness, a physician, to validate their claims when the Great One awakened. On the fourth night, the captain came to the cell. The captain said the transition was painful, but the reward was eternity. Conrad told him he looked ill. The captain answered that he was becoming more than human, and that Cthulhu dreamed of Tuna Luna Port. Conrad warned that the captain was destroying his soul for a monster that did not know his name. The captain replied that the Great One knew them all. Conrad had hidden the last of his medical kit inside his boot. When the guards brought him a grey mash of sea creatures, he mixed sulphur and ammonia in a broken cup and waited. The vapour rose sharp and caustic. Then the moon climbed and the altar cold.
When Viola Niti came to drag him to the altar, Conrad waited until she was within arm's reach.
The moon is climbing, surface man. Stand. The altar waits.
I would rather walk there.
You will crawl.
Come close, then. Conrad smashed the vial against the stone floor. A cloud of acrid vapour erupted.
Ah! My eyes! My face!
Run, you monster! He forced his way through the temple. He ran past the chanting chambers, past doors that opened into impossible darkness, past cultists whose hands had begun to web and whose voices bubbled like drowning men. He reached the harbour. The crew of the SS Thul lay half asleep across the deck, their minds clouded by the priest's song. Conrad shook them awake, dragged them by their collars, and forced the least affected toward the boats. Then he saw the bridge. Captain Holson was preparing a signal. Beyond the black pier, shapes moved in the water. Pale heads, slick backs, a fleet gathering in the dark. The signal would send them toward Tuna Luna Port.
You cannot escape the deep.
Watch me. A great alarm spread through the temple. The island seemed to wake beneath their feet. The sea climbed the stone steps, and every shadow appeared to move.
They crashed through the navigation charts and slammed into the steering wheel. Halsin was stronger now, his arms corded with alien muscle. Conrad fought with the strength of a man who had a wife, a son, and a promise waiting at home.
You will not bring those creatures to my home.
As Halsin lunged, Conrad drove a brass sextant into the rudder mechanism and jammed it hard over. The ship lurched. The captain flew against the bulkhead. Below them, the island began to scream. A tentacle thicker than a redwood erupted from the bay and smashed into the side of the ship.
The hull's gone! Doctor, she's sinking!
Get the sane men to the lifeboats. Cut loose every boat that will float. And you? I am not leaving until the captain is stopped. Conrad found Naiva Cthulhu on the listing deck, crawling toward him through the spray. The priest declared that the great sleeper had opened his eye and that Conrad could not flee destiny. Destiny is a word men use when they are too frightened to fight. The priest lunged. Conrad met him at the rail. You belong to the deep. I belong to my family. Conrad kicked the priest into the wake. Then he threw himself into the last lifeboat. Silas pulled at the oars while the storm broke around them. Doctor, look back! I am looking. The black spires of Fulha vibrated. The violet bay opened like a wound. At its centre, a golden eye rose from the water. An eye 100 yards across. It stared at Conrad with cold, immortal hunger. What is that? Do not give it a name. It already has one. Row. Doctor! Row, man. Row until your hands bleed. Conrad navigated the lifeboats home through storms that should have killed them all.
Your father navigated the lifeboats home through storms that should have killed them all. He arrived at Cthulhu port, a broken man, but a hero. He never told the town the whole truth. He said the SS Thule had been lost in a sudden storm. He said the crew had suffered fever. He said the island was uncharted and best forgotten. But he spent the rest of his life watching the horizon. He and your mother built a quiet life. They repaired the roof. They sent you to school. They laughed again, though not as freely as before. And sometimes, in the middle of the night, your father would wake and listen to the sea. Did he win? He saved us. That was his victory. But remember this, my boy. The great dreamer does not forget. Cthulhu does not accept defeat. He only waits. Is it still there? I did not answer. I listened. At first, the tide sounded as it always had. Water against sand. Water beneath the pier. Then the rhythm changed. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Father, that is not the tide. No. Beyond the harbour walls of Cthulhu port, something began to rise in the dark. It was not a scream. It was not a roar. It was a laugh. A deep, booming laugh that trembled through the floorboards, through the soil of the town, and into the hearts of every sleeping soul in the seaport. The laughter of Cthulhu gloomed over Cthulhu port, a promise of return, an immortal reminder that the depths always claim what is theirs. What do? We keep the lamps lit. We bar the doors. We tell the truth to the next generation before the sea teaches it to them. And if a ship appears beyond the harbour at dawn, we pray its captain has not been dreaming. Father, do not look toward the window.
There are maps that show where men have been, and maps that show where men hope to go. The map I am about to describe showed neither. It was found in the wreckage of the SS Thule, sealed inside a brass tube that had no seam, no hinge, and no earthly reason to have survived the sinking. Your father brought it home from the Isle of Thule. He hid it beneath the floorboards. He never spoke of it. Not to your mother. Not to the harbour master. Not even to me. But secrets have a way of floating.
You said Father destroyed every chart connected to Thule.
I said he tried.
And the map shows what? The island?
No, my
It shows what lies beneath the island. A trench, deeper than any ocean survey had measured. A narrow black line descending from the island into the Pacific, marked in your father's hand with 3 words. The sounding below. He had written a warning beneath it. Do not follow the well.
Then why are we going?
Because 30 years after your father went home, ships began disappearing beyond the outer wall. Not sinking, disappearing. And one morning, the harbour received a distress call from Conrad Stilton's boats.
The research vessel was named the Morrow Glass. She was smaller than the SS Thule, but sturdier, built for deep water sounding and long weeks beyond the shipping lanes. Kamsalavan stood on the quay with his father's brass sextant in one hand and the sealed map in the other.
You're holding that sextant like it's a weapon.
It was a weapon once,
Against what?
something that had too many arms and not enough patience.
Good. I was worried this would be a dull scientific survey.
Declan Doyle approached, joking that he had signed on for danger, bad coffee, and the possibility of being eaten by a thing that lived below the charts. Beth replied that he had signed on because the pay was double. Declan answered that a man could be brave and practical in the same breath. Mara announced that the radio room was ready, with a direct line to Tunaluna Port, the weather service, and 3 emergency frequencies. Dr. Venn objected that there was no evidence the voyage was connected to the disappearances. Kamsalavan reminded him that the distress call had used his father's voice. Dr. Venn insisted the recording could have been forged. Declan muttered that perhaps the equipment had learned to speak in the voice of a dead man.
You are all behaving as if we expect trouble.
The harbour lines were cast off. They departed under a grey sky. Kamsalavan did not tell the crew that his father had spent the last year of his life wakened from dreams of a bell. Not a ship's bell, but a bell the size of a mountain, ringing in water so deep that sound became pressure, and pressure became thought.
The Morrow Glass reached open ocean. They crossed beyond the old survey lines.
Position confirmed. We are outside the old survey lines.
Depth.
3,000 fathoms.
Beth Kerr objected that the old charts showed a rise there. Kamsalan answered that the old charts were wrong. Dr. Venn reminded him that the charts were made by 6 ships and a naval survey plane. Kamsalan said his father's map showed a trench. Declan muttered that reading what survived was not the same as reading the truth. The sounding line descended.
500 fathoms. 1,000. 2,000 fathoms. 3,000. 4,000.
The winch slowed by itself. A soft knock travelled through the hull.
Did anyone else hear that?
Hear what? Another knock came, then another.
The line is stopped.
Beth asked the depth.
No reading.
Kamsalan ordered them to cut it loose. Dr. Ben objected that they had not collected the sample. Beth released the line. They hauled the line back in. At its end hung a brass weight polished smooth, not by friction, but by something that had held it. Around the weight was wrapped a strip of black, rubbery material. It was warm. That night, Mara found a transmission.
We have a transmission.
Kamsalan asked if it came from Tunaluna.
No, it's too weak, too far away.
Static pulsed in a slow rhythm.
Consalabin Stilton.
The voice spoke his name and called him the son of Conrad, blood of the shore, keeper of the brass eye. Kamsalan demanded to know who was speaking. The voice answered, "The door beneath the door." Kamsalan asked what it wanted.
The voice replied, "The promise was broken." Camsalan said his father had made no promise. The voice answered, "He swore to return." Then the radio went dead.
The crew heard wet footsteps on the lower deck, although the deck was locked and the key remained in Beth Kerr's pocket. The next morning, the diving bell was prepared. Camsalavin said he was going down. Dr. Venn replied that he was going too. Declan said somebody must keep them from touching whatever they found. Beth ordered them to cut the cable if the bell stopped answering. The diving bell descended. Mara reported 1,000 fathoms and stable hull pressure. Camsalavin said the water was dark. Dr. Venn answered that darkness was expected at that depth. Declan said this was something else. The light from the bell was stopping at the glass. A scrape moved along the viewport.
There is something outside.
Do not tap the glass. Your father was not a reliable observer by the end. A deep knock sounded. Then another. Closer. Dr. Venn insisted the sound was travelling through the cable. Camsalavin answered that it was travelling through them. The bell jolted. Mara warned that they were descending faster than ordered. Camsalavin said they were not descending. Dr. Venn asked what he meant. Camsalavin answered that the sea floor was rising. The bell settled onto stone. There is a structure below us. That is not a structure. That is a city. Impossible geometry. The walls are folding inward. They are not walls. They are ribs. What is that sound? A distant, resonant bell rolled through miles of water. Camsalavin quoted, "The bell from his father's dreams." The water began to move around the bell. Declan said the water was going up. Camsalavin answered that it was not water. Dr. Venn asked what else it could be. Camsalavin said, "A tide."
Beneath the diving bell stood a city without windows and without doors, its walls folded inward at impossible angles.
That is not a structure. That is a city.
Camsalavin said the walls were ribs. A distant bell sounded, muffled by miles of water.
It is calling the ship.
Mara reported over the intercom that the Morrow Glass had started its engines. Camsalavin ordered Beth to shut them down. Beth answered that the controls were moving on their own. Dr. Venn said there was no signal between the depth and the engine room. Camsalavin replied that it was not a signal. A voice below spoke. "Open the way." Did you hear that? Dr. Venn said he heard nothing. The voice spoke again. Dr. Venn admitted he heard it. Camsalavin said it wanted the map. "Then give it to the sea and let us go." Camsalavin said that if they left, it would follow them. Dr. Venn said he could not know that. Camsalavin answered that he knew because his father had tried to leave. Doctor asked what Conrad had left behind. Camsalavin replied, "A door." A storm surface shifted. A great opening sound moved through the city. The voice below said Conrad Stilton had returned. Camsalavin answered that his father had died on land. The voice replied that names were shallow things and blood was deeper. "Look at the water." The water rose around the bell. Doctor said it was going up. Camsalavin answered, "It is not water." A tide had entered the city. The cable came under impossible tension.
Beth warned that she could bring the diving bell up for perhaps 30 seconds before it parted. Kamsalan ordered her to bring it up. Beth answered that the winch was locked. Kamsalan said to cut it. Dr. Venn warned that they would never reach the surface. Declan answered that if they kept the cable, something below might climb it. Kamsalan explained that the map was the key and the bell was the summons. His father had stopped the first voyage by turning the ship away from the island. This time, the island was beneath them. Dr. Venn asked what he intended.
Open the bell!
Declan said he could not be serious. Kamsalan explained that if the door was open from their side, perhaps it could be closed from their side too. Dr. Venn asked what would happen if he was wrong. Then the ocean gets a doctor, a deck officer, and a fool with a brass map. The hatch opened onto black water, yet no water entered. Beyond the threshold was a dry stone passage descending through the ocean, lit by a pale green glow. On the walls were carvings of ships, all pointing downward. At the far end stood a figure wearing the remains of a captain's coat. Father. The figure answered that he had come back. No. I came to close what you opened. The figure said he could not close a dream while the dreamer was waking. Then tell me how to wake it completely. The figure said the port was waiting, the harbour, the house, the sun. You are not my father. The figure answered that it remembered his father's hands. You remember what you took from him. Kamsalan drove the brass sextant into the central carving. The stone city shuddered. The bell began to ring, not above them, but inside them.
The cable strained. Alarms sounded. Beth tried to bring the diving bell up.
Come, Sullivan, your cable is under impossible tension. I can bring you up for perhaps 30 seconds before it parts.
Bring up the bell!
The winch is locked.
Kamsalan ordered her to cut it. Beth answered that they had almost reached them. Kamsalan shouted, "Cut it now!"
I can see the bell rising.
Beth! The cable parted. The Morrow glass lurched away from the trench, driven by an unseen force. The diving bell rose through black water, green water, silver water, and finally daylight. It surfaced, empty. For 3 minutes, no one spoke. Then Kamsalan climbed out. Declan followed. Dr. Venn came last, white-haired in a single night.
Where is the doctor?
Dr. Venn said he was there.
I meant the other doctor.
Declan answered that Kamsalan had stayed below. Beth asked why. Kamsalan answered that the door was not closed. Beth asked what he had closed. Kamsalan said, the map. Mara reported a transmission from Tunaluna Port. Static filled the radio. A familiar older voice said Kamsalan's name. The voice declared that the first door was closed. Kamsalan asked what it meant. The voice replied, there are 7 beneath the sea. On the 7th night, as Tunaluna Port appeared beyond the dawn fog, the bell rang 7 times.
They sailed home without speaking of the trench. But every night after, the crew heard a bell beneath the hull. 1 note for the first door, 2 notes for the second. And on the 7th night, as Tunaluna Port appeared beyond the dawn fog, the bell rang 7 times.
You knew there were 7 doors.
I knew there were 7 marks on your father's map. I did not know what they meant.
The map is sealed now.
Nothing beneath the sea is sealed forever.
Dr. Venn says the trench has vanished.
And Beth Kerr says the ship's engines started by themselves.
Declan says he will never sail again.
Declan has said that
after every voyage.
Father is still down there. Perhaps. Or perhaps what wore his voice was only the deep learning how to call you by name. What do I do now? You listen carefully. You keep your doors barred. And if the sea ever calls you by your father's name, you do not answer. A soft knock came at the cottage door. Did you hear that? 2 more knocks followed. Who is it? Do not ask. Sylvan Stilton. The fire cuttered. The sea